program today is Rev Adza Mould from probably the fastest growing and largest family federation association. It's a community, a spiritual community of which I myself am a member here in Dublin. Many of us here today are connected, so we're very happy to have our local Adza, as we call him, over from South London, from the cultural milieu of cosmopolitan South London, the place where all the good footballers come from. And we're hoping we can capture a few of them for the Republic of Ireland someday. Otherwise, our fortunes are never going to improve. Adza is going to speak to us today about his experience. He's a son of Ireland and a son of Ghana. I'm not sure if he's a son of Britain as well at this stage, but he spent most of his life there, so you'll have to forgive him if you see him wearing an England jersey someday. Just remember he's one of ours. But please welcome our dearly beloved Reverend Adza Mould.
I thank you, Colin, for your.
You have a presentation, yeah.
So I was grateful for the walk because Colin could remind me that it's less of a sermon today, because normally on a Sunday I would be expected to give a sermon, and more of a sharing. So as Colin said, I'm Ghanaian but also Irish, and I'm very proud of my Irish side as I am of my Ghana side. We all saw the monument to the famine, and we've all read up about the famine. We know the millions that died, and those that were thrown overboard in the ships. Kind of reminds you of the trafficking that happened, the transatlantic human trafficking, normally called the slave trade, but actually it was human trafficking. It's not to be made into a trade, but you can trade. Sure, trade people. But yeah, it reminded me a lot about that. It is very similar in that most of the people didn't actually make it across to their intended destination, but they were thrown overboard when they died. So we all know this history, so I'm not going to go through it, but I'm going to come at it from a kind of personal angle, because it's led to mass migration from Ireland to America and Canada and other places.
You will when I get the presentation.
Yeah.
You will. Sorry about that.
And also, I'm not going to lay the blame on some bacteria or some government somewhere. It's shall remain unnamed. We forgive them.
Yeah.
There was also a Lord Tottenham that was involved in this kind of kicking people off the land, which is why I support Arsenal.
Say that one again?
Rather than Tottenham. So I want to approach it from the viewpoint of this hope and hopelessness. Yeah. So the people of Ireland at the time were faced with a choice to make, not much choice really, hopelessness or leave the country and have hope somewhere else. So looking for hope, and humanity actually does want to. We live in hope that tomorrow will be a better day. We can make tomorrow a better day for us and for our families. Yeah.
Just go to your clicker there. Press it down, I think.
Okay.
Well done. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So the famine, hope and hopelessness. So that's how I'm going to look at it. So because it was a result of emigration was a result of the famine, so I'm going to look at it from the viewpoint of emigration and think about those people who made a decision to get on the ships to go to America and Canada. What were they looking for? They were looking for a new life, and they were hoping for a better future. The other way we can look at it as well, which I'm not going to today, but we can, is to step outside the Earth and go to another planet and look back at this Earth and think, well, where are the boundaries of nations and countries? You know, there are no boundaries really. These are made up things that we made up. This is our country, that is your country. But usually if there's a problem in one area, you'd move to where there's no problem. It's just a natural, you just move. Wherever there's an earthquake that destroys an area, you move to another area, and there should be no limits, nothing keeping you from doing that. So that, you may say, is God's point of view. You know, imagine there's no country, as John Lennon said. So we would just move to where we would feel more comfortable and hopeful. So the famine, potato failure was in 1845, and I have the other dates, 1958, which may be strange to you because it seems like a 6-year famine, right? But the 1958 is a year that my parents left Ireland to go to Ghana to live. You may not believe it, but at some point, when Africans came to study at Trinity College, like my dad did, a scientist as well, studied entomology, when he finished, there was so much hope in Africa. They were coming out of colonialism, and there was hope that the continent would grow and flourish. So a lot of students were going back to invest in Africa. So my father and my mother, who's Irish, took off and went back 110 years after the famine, to go to Africa to build a better future for themselves and for the country. So they went to the other way. So that's why it was 1958 there. That's when they went. So that was a long time ago. This summer, I went to Ghana to celebrate my dad's 95th birthday. And I went a long way around. It's normally a 6-hour journey, but I went through Brussels and Munich, or Munich and then Brussels. It took me 30 hours because it's cheaper. But yeah, so when the Brussels Air to Accra, I was reminded, I wrote this just last night, because I was reminded when I arrived in Dublin last night on the flight, we touched down and I was like, it was very quiet. Normally in Ghana, when the flight touches down, everybody claps, right? We've landed. And when I was younger, I thought, what are they clapping? Are they clapping because we are glad we made it? Yeah. We found a way, or we safely landed. But this time I realized, actually, we are clapping because we are happy to be home. We are happy to come home. But when I looked around, it's a big 380, aircraft, a lot of people, 4 seats in the middle, 3 on the edges. So I was in the middle seats, there's some families running around, everybody's clapping, but there was one guy who was very quiet. So somebody asked him, what's up? And he said, well, he has been returned. He's been deported back. So he has nothing to clap about, right? He tried to come here to better his life for whatever reason, and he's deported back. Everybody's happy to be back home, except him, because he wanted to make his life somewhere else. Right? Anyway, that's this is me with my sister Gronia and Fiona and my half brother and my dad, 95, celebrating his birthday. People think in Africa, things are desperate and we are hungry and things like that. Yeah. It's not always the case. Yeah. So this is my father's birthday with all his grandchildren around him. My daughter Sasha. So usually people clap when like that. I've got the things in the wrong order. But on this occasion, the gentleman who didn't clap was a deported refugee. So his hopes had been dashed, so he couldn't be happy in the moment. So think about all those Irish emigrants from Ireland or immigrants to the United States. How were they received when they got there? You know the stories, right? They had to fight to survive. They had to be really determined to overcome the hostility that they met in America or wherever they went. You know, they were faced with this Irish need not apply situation, or you know all about that. So they had to fight it, but they had crossed the Atlantic in a desperate situation to get to America, and they had seen their family getting thrown overboard after they died. When they got to America, they were determined to make it. So they had that fight in them. We are going to make this count. So now we have presidents coming back from America saying, I'm Irish, I'm Irish. And they have made it in America. Irish have made it. I know immigration is a problem in Europe, right? You have immigrants crossing the Sahara by foot or whatever means they can. I was working in London with a guy driving a bus who had, you know, his boat had capsized. You know, his boat had capsized. And as he was swimming, there was another couple there. And the boyfriend of one of the couple had abandoned the girl, his girlfriend, in the water. So he had to go and rescue the girl and bring her ashore. Now, this guy, where he's working, you know, how do you think he's not working like me? I've been settled in Britain for a long time. Would you like to do overtime? No, I'm going back to my family. This guy's like, any overtime I get, I will do it, right? I will do it. I'll work and work. You cannot compete with somebody who's crossed the Sahara, swam ashore in a boat, you know, you cannot compete with him if you're comfortable where you are. That is why maybe we are scared that the immigrants will take our jobs or whatever. They don't want your jobs. They will do the menial jobs, and at the end, when they graduate with their PhDs, they'll become your leaders. And I think in Ireland already we have leaders who are immigrants. So we cannot compete with the immigrants who made that journey. Just as the Irish who went to America were so determined to put up that fight to survive, to make it count, all that they had left behind. But can you imagine? There are immigrants coming to Ireland now, right? There are immigrants coming here. Many years ago, they were leaving, they were going. There may be a time when
this person down.
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah. There may be a time when the immigrants, you know, people are coming from Africa or Syria or whatever countries they're coming from. And if you think about the population, the demography of Africa, they're all young, right? That the future of the world is in Africa. All the minerals are in Africa. If they get their act together and they shed this control by the neo-colonialists, and they think about the future of Africa, as we were discussing earlier, they get their mindsets right. Africa will be the future. I will not be surprised if there'll be people leaving Europe and America go to Africa as immigrants, wanting to get in on the action. They already are, but in a more dignified way. So I have hope that forgetting about the whole world is everybody's world. It's not your country, my country, whatever. It's just God's viewpoint. But what we think is a problem today, tomorrow will be an opportunity somewhere else. So we have to have this long-range mindset that when 100 years from now, our descendants want to go to Africa or go to India or wherever they want to go, how do we want them to be received? What kind of welcome shall we give them? So that we can see in our immediate situation now, look at our history, right? In Ireland, in Britain, the things that we have gone through overseas, just translated back to our situation. famine is not a thing of the past, it's a thing which is ongoing and is usually man-made. And the solution also rests with us. So let's try to think of ourselves as a family, and let's think in the long term, and let's think that we are living in some kind of cycle, which, you know, it's just maybe not in our lifetime, but our children, our descendants, our grandchildren's lifetime, we may be going somewhere else. If we don't prevent the climate catastrophe that's looming, then we may find ourselves going elsewhere where we can survive. So anyway, that was a bit of a ramble, but thank you so much and God bless you.